From the Oklahoma Newsroom, this is an OSU update. I'm Jenni Carlson here with Kyle Fredrickson. Kyle, signing day now in the rearview mirror, so now we get to dissect a little bit. And as we look at this recruiting class and we add it to last year's recruiting class, position that the Cowboys are thin at seems to be wide receiver. Is that a concern at this point?
Well, it has to at least be something OSU fans are thinking about. Last year's class, Jalen McCleskey, the only wideout. This year's class, Tyrell Alexander and Dylan Stoner. So a bunch of talented guys who figure to be in the mix, but when you're looking long term with just the number of receivers on the roster, guys who are graduating, guys who are becoming seniors, you know, this is really the last year the Cowboys can kind of say, hey, we're cool with just having this number. Because as we look at the depth chart entering 2016, you lose David Glidden, you lose Brandon Shepard. But like we talked about all year, this group has been so deep and talented, it hasn't been a concern. And even moving forward into 2016, it really shouldn't, because you got a guy in Jalen McCleskey who can really take Glidden's spot at the slot receiver, a guy who showed a lot of promise. Chris Lacey is another guy who's been on the depth chart, kind of used sparingly, who could step into Brandon Shepard's role. And they also bring back Keenan Brown, a guy we haven't talked about in forever, who sat out with injury all year last year, a real big athletic leaper, another Houston guy that the Cowboys really like. So for this class, they're not so worried about it. But just think about this. Going into signing day, there were two top prospects the Cowboys really wanted to land. A guy in Courtney Davis from Houston, Adi Omatosho from Plano, guys who decided to go to the SEC and the Pac-12. So there were some guys the Cowboys were hopeful to get, really recruited hard, that they didn't land. But next year, if we're having the same conversation, there's going to be a bit of a reason for concern.
Well, because you're talking about a position that still has James Washington, still has Marcel Aitman. So the immediate future, not necessarily a bad thing, but the Cowboys don't need to look very far down the road to Norman to see what can happen when that position gets thin. Now, it's probably also safe to say, Kyle, that they've stolen a little bit from the wide receiver position to try to build up that offensive line, right?
Yeah, no doubt in this last class. I mean, when you're offering, 7 scholarships or guys you're landing, 7 scholarship guys that you're landing in your class, that shows you where your areas of need are. But like you said, as we've seen in Norman, if the Cowboys get caught in a position where they're just scrambling for JUCO guys late, it's just not good, because this offense, as we saw last year, was so pass heavy with some of the issues that they had in the run game. So no reason for concern right now, but as they're looking ahead, there's no doubt that receiver is going to be a big area of emphasis for this next class.
All right, thanks, Kyle. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.